Exactly. So this is, I guess this is not really, wanting to search those happen. That nobody will do something else.
We're almost there. Okay, we are.
That's just how it is. They should have that. You do the later date,
Yeah, we're alive.
just see how things go down. That's what.
Okay, it is October 23rd, 2025. Time is now 7:02 p.m. And this is the meeting of the Community Engagement Committee We'll start with introductions.
My name is Luke Johnson, Network Administrator.
Many resources, resident, Fairview.
I'm a resident of Sandy Hook.
Amy Johnson, president. Two kids who graduated from Williams High School.
Dr. Njoku, Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, and just on behalf of Dr. Chisholm, she is not feeling well, so.
I am Audrey Cabell, Director of Special Education and People Personnel Services.
I'm Gary Mastrangelo, Principal of Ivy School.
Steve North, head of a senior Woodland Middle High School.
I am Jackie Burton. I'm a member of the communications team.
Miguel Barrios, part of the communications team, as well as part of the community with 3 kids in the school district.
Rebecca Santolayo, trustee, alumni, and parent of a 2024 graduate and current 9th grader.
I am David Warner, a board member and chair of this committee, and online, Kelly.
I'm Kelly Johnson, a parent of a 10th grader at Williams High School.
Nicole.
Hi, yes, I'm Nicole Donnell. I'm a parent of a 2nd grader at Highview and a 5th grader at Bailey.
Okay, anybody I missed? Good. Then the next order of business is to introduce our superintendent, assistant superintendent. Assistant superintendent. You were supposed to introduce Audrey Cabell.
Okay.
You have.
Sure, not a problem. So we're pleased to introduce Ms. Audrey Cabell. She comes to us very experienced as our new Director of Special Education and people personnel.
Yes.
And so she has some introductions and general understandings to share with you all tonight.
One, thank you for having me here and allowing me to introduce myself to the community and participate in this. I just really want to also thank, I know they're not on here now, but the staff of the middle high school for being so welcoming. My office space there, but also to the buildings, such as the principals who have been absolutely wonderful. And of course, seeing the kids makes anyone's day. And that's my priority here, to make sure that I am serving the community, serving the students who are our top priority. So I know I shared with you a document in terms of the procedural safeguards.
Did you bring that up?
Sure, 1 second.
So, and the reason I share this, and I share it multiple times with families, whenever I have conversations with families, I feel it's important that families know what their rights are in education. And New York State has put forth the procedural safeguards in many languages for families to understand, and it was updated recently in 2024, and it had been updated since 2016 or 2017 before that. But it's so important for the parents to understand what their rights are under the law, under the commissioner regulations, what their children are entitled to receive. And I make sure that any conversation that I have with families, I include what their rights are. And if they disagree with a committee decision or any when they participate in any of the meetings, I want them to know that they have a right to express that they are not in agreement and what the procedures are in terms of next steps if they are not in agreement with committee's decision. We hope that all families are happy with decisions, but then there'll be some that they're not, but I want them to understand that there is a process. And the process is outlined in the procedural safeguards. What I will have is also a part of the workshops that we're doing as kind of the parent universities, where we're going to go through the procedural safeguard notice. Yes.
So do you wait until people are classified, or you do this before?
No,
the-
it's done before they're evaluated. So any family who has an inquiry in terms of needs of their child and they want to know more information about special education, the procedural safeguard notice is given to families prior to classification of their child, and then also after. But it's important for families to know it before classification and after classification of their child.
Could you outline the process that you go through in, say, a year of normal taking care of students with special needs?
So it really depends on the child, right? So it also depends on the child's classification. So if we have students, let's say students with autism, which is, we see a rise of, in New York State. So if you have a child with autism per se, we're not going to treat them the same, okay, as a child with multiple disabilities. There's specifically designed instruction for a student with autism. So a student with autism might be exposed to ABA, okay, which is applied behavior analysis, which is part of that is discrete trials, and that's a teaching method for students with autism. So that's something that I would like to introduce into our program with our Lee F. Jackson School. So we have a class with 812, which is 8 students, 1 teacher, and 2 teacher assistants. And in there, what they're using is really whole group instruction, and it really should be specific to the needs of each child. So with that, we have to do professional development with staff and the teachers there. So that way is specifically designed instruction for those students in the class. If we have a child with multiple disabilities, the instruction is going to look a little different. So we, instead of saying nonverbal, one of the teachers here said, instead of nonverbal, we should use non-speaking. And I said, I love that. So with our non-speaking students, what we would do is we would use a device to help them access communication, right? And with one of our students with multiple disabilities, what he uses is eye gaze. So he communicates with his eyes instead, but it's a way for him to communicate with us. So each student, even if it's a year, it takes, specifically designed instruction for them.
Okay, and how do you balance that off with the inclusion?
So it's also, again, depending on the needs of the students, right? So we have to look at their specific needs. We have to look at their specific goals. We want students to always be included, no matter what. So inclusion can look different for many students. So we'll have students that are in special classes, but their inclusion can be part of their art, music, or gym. And these are some of the things that I'm looking at right now in terms of programming, specifically at the high school level, middle high school level, to see what they're doing in terms of inclusion of students who may be in a special class. Because what the regulations want us to do and what the state wants us to do is make sure that kids are included if they're in special education as much as possible. So if they're not included, we want to see where in their schedule we can have them included. So gym does not have to be separate from, in a special class. It could be with all students, not just in the special class.
Yes.
Very good. So when we talk about inclusion, and I don't know if this falls in your realm or maybe Dr. Joku's realm, but what about the children who don't have special education designation? Are they taught about acceptance, about non-judgmental and being including, how to include?
So that's part of the SEL work that's being done at the building levels.
Okay.
So part of the SEL work is inclusion, acceptance. I don't like the word tolerance, but I know that New York State uses that. But to include everyone in the process, but that's part of our SEL. The social workers and guidance teams and psychologists. I know in Lee F. Jackson, they use art and gym So the phys ed teachers go in and they do push-in lessons, SEL lessons with the students. We use second step curriculum, which it has inclusive practices in there.
Are there instances in which students are classified and then as a result of their education, they're declassified?
Yes, absolutely.
And when does that happen most?
So that really happens through reevaluations, right? So students are reevaluated every 3 years. And every 3 years, we go through the process of having that triennial meeting is what we call it. And we see what the evaluations show us in terms of growth. And typically that's when students are declassified. Now, we have parents that may say, you know, I think my child is stronger in a certain area. So we would push the examination to sooner, so that way they can be declassified in services. But it's usually an evaluation that's in place. And other data specific, you know, classroom instruction.
So you have this major evaluation every 3 years.
Every 3 years, and an annual review every year.
Okay.
An annual review happens every year to review the IEP, review the goals, and establish new goals for the students. And then the triennial happens every year.
And let's say that we go all the way through the, get all the way to high school graduation, okay? What happens in terms of preparation for the great world beyond school?
So right now, what we don't have here in districts is a transition coordinator, right? So that's one of the avenues that I am, you know, looking at and going to explore with Dr. Njoku to see who can truly take on that role as a transition coordinator here in the district. Typically, it's like a psychologist, a social worker, someone that becomes extremely familiar with the community to help those with disabilities in next steps, right? And I'm talking about the more severe cases of those that need that transition planning, right? But we also want to have transition planning, and we usually start that when a child is 15 years old, where they are part of the conversation of their IEP. And they are part of the meetings because they should have a voice. And I even believe that it should be younger than 15. But they have a voice, and they share with us what their goals are. And what we do is we take whatever their goals are and what, you know, their dreams may be, and we incorporate it into the meeting. So that way we are doing something that's the child is in agreement with, but also the families are in agreement with. So if their goal is college, we work with them on how to get to college and what that looks like for them. And again, it's all individualized depending on the students and the students' needs. But we also might gear them towards a college, okay, that would accept them in terms of whatever their disability might be.
So there are colleges that specialize more.
We do have, there's actually colleges, some of the SUNYs that do have specialized programs for students with disabilities.
And in terms of if college were not the next step, are there adult services?
There's adult services, there's also BOCES. For those that are more severe, we make sure that they have OPWDD, which is a service that provides assistance outside of the school. That's really what a transition person would do. There's Access VR for students as well, but we make sure that, again, it's individualized to meet the needs and the goals of the family and the students, whatever their path may be. There's BOCES programs also. We have some of our students with disabilities that are on BOCES half day, so that they learn a trade, and that would be their next step.
So when do students age out?
20 before their 22nd birthday. So they can go up to age 22.
Those are the questions I have. Other people have questions? Yes.
When you were talking about the transition coordinator, maybe this would be there for that type of person who do this thing, but when you talked about children when they're 15 being a part of their IEP plan, I think that's also the age where they're able to work, children in
Yes.
general can start
Absolutely.
having summer jobs and such. So is there anyone ever that helps children with special education get job applications, apply, or is that on the parent?
So that typically would be, and it's funny you mention it, because I met with the guidance counselors last week with social workers. And we started having that conversation about what that would look like. So right now, we don't have someone per se that does that. But I know that the special education teachers are helping to support the students currently because we don't have someone in that role. So for example, we have a class where we have students that are learning life skills. Okay, so whether it's cooking, whether it's, different activities, but what we're doing also is we're giving them jobs within the school. So there's a student store right now. So now in the student store, we're working with Mr. Smith, where the students will work there for a day and learn different skills. There's some that express interest in working, and they've been have actually. So we have students that are working there as well. So they're learning skills within the school building before they go out.
Last thing, here in Greenburgh, we have, a wonderful, amazing resource in TUICC as well. They employ many of our students for camp counselors in the summer. So I don't know whether or not talking to them and talking collaboration
Absolutely.
with, part-time jobs for 15 and up, I guess, I think 15 is the age, maybe it's 14, but would be, I think, amazing. We also have a veteran, just the county services in general.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
I can speak on this personally because I have a child who was special ed. I went through the system and everything else. First he was inclusion, then he became mainstream. And he also graduated, I know they stopped the IEP diplomas. They used to give those a long time ago. They stopped that. But he ended up, excelling, being one of those. And I know how the program is with the school. I know they have the two programs they have, the regular special ed and have the special service ones. I don't know, Mr. O'Donnell, is he still? O'Donnell, and I don't know if it's the Valley. Mr. Woods,
No, it's
Okay. And I just know that personally that, there is a lot of good in it because the resource, we still have resource. That's what the children learn a lot, because resource helps them not only with their academics, but also helps them look elsewise. Now, I don't know, I've been going for almost 10 years now, but when I was there, is what you put into the program, which was available, and also what the parents put into it. Your child needs things, you have to find out what they need. The schools always was there, go through the CSE, all that stuff, even with discipline. Discipline is done differently too, compared to a regular high school kid, compared to a student who has special needs and stuff. I know my son, he did very well. I know you're talking about student schools, CEC Community College has a great program there, for kids. And that's, I was always, when I worked at the school and I was a dean, I used to advise parents, the kids have Westchester be a place where they can go. I wouldn't, unless the kid is exceptionally real good, I would never send them to a 4-year school, especially away from home, because things are different. My son had certain, tendencies, processes, stuff like that, where it wouldn't have been great for him to go away from school, but it would have been a problem. Especially with the school society is, but Westchester, they have everything there that you need. They have a good program, they have resource for the kids. BOCES is another great program too, for parents, who are trying to get their kids to do something after, because colleges, and mostly, I hate this, not to stereotype, but not a lot of majority of the kids who have an IEP go to college. A lot of them have to find jobs. My son was very fortunate. We worked with the health center. We worked 2 summers at the health center, and did that TDYCC, great over there. They're always looking out to help our kids and stuff. And a lot of it's also intern too. You would like for your child to get paid, but sometimes it's just the experience of working. And when they get to a certain age, then they can actually go out. Because my son actually worked 3 years at the health center, just as an intern, free. I knew Judith Watson over there. Trained him very well how to work. He worked 5 hours a day, when they did what he had to do, learned a lot of different things, how to work with people, communicate with people. That's another important thing, communication. Kids, because sometimes, you know, they don't have those skills and stuff. But it's at the school. Is Mr. Sanders still working there? He used to work with Central. He was more of a clerk. Young kid. I can't remember his first name. He used to help out, you know.
Yes, I know exactly who you're talking
Yeah,
about. I don't know if he works
I
there.
can't remember his first name, but he worked for a couple of years. Matter of fact, you know, I think maybe just probably recently, maybe he transitioned elsewhere. But he was one of those students, you know, who had that, but school took him in. You know, he worked at the school, he helped out like his little clerk and stuff and did a little thing, then he got paid and everything for it and stuff. And Acme too, they hired a lot of our kids, because I used to know at Acme, you know, if they want to work, there's jobs there and everything. So there's a lot of resources here in Greenburgh that are available, you know, once you get that extra person you need, because I know your plate is full, trust me. You know, it was just something that I know how it is. You sit there, you sit in that chair with the CSE hearings, everything else and stuff, making sure. But another second question is, I know that the federal government has changed, they're changing a whole lot of their regulations and stuff. Is that affecting us?
So they're not necessarily changing regulations, I think they're just cutting everything, so.
Well, same thing.
They're not changing it, they're just cutting it.
Cutting it, you don't have.
Finding and trying to, you know, streamline certain, you know, areas, I think moving special education to a different area. In the federal government, but with, the changes in the federal government, it hasn't really impacted us.
Okay, yeah.
Not yet.
Not yet.
So we still follow state.
Okay.
State laws.
Nice.
Yes.
So it's been a few years, but my child we had to sit through one of the meetings where he was going from, I guess, to the CPSC meetings.
CPSC to CSC transition meeting?
Yes. And they had decided that he was not eligible based upon some of the reports that they received. And as a parent who felt that he needed those services, OT and speech, and he wasn't going to get them anyway, I felt very at a loss, because those services were going to end immediately. And I believe too soon.
So they were ending immediately, they weren't offering you transition?
I was offered no transition. I paid out of pocket to try and get some the speech therapy continued. And it was, I mean, I believe it's the same thing that contributed to the need for him to get AIS services for years. Once he was eligible at that point to get. And I don't think I'm alone. I mean, you know, you talk to other parents and you find out that it's not unusual for there to be this meeting where kids who got services, because frankly, it's apparently kind of easy to get services when the kids are still in preschool age. But that new time of, I guess, when they're going into kindergarten, or is apparently the time for this meeting where a lot of parents and families who receive services get cut off. Like it's the first dividing line. And it's for those kids who are apparently on a cusp. Where frankly, the therapists who were seeing him were shocked that, you know, that he was going to cease getting services. But it was all the teachers who came into contact with him who felt that he should get it and were surprised. I mean, mind you, I had words, and I went to the meeting that was here, and if any of those teachers are here, I'm sorry, because I did let myself say words that I would normally not say. But it was such a shock that those services were going to end. And I'm just wondering, on behalf of those parents, what does the district offer? Because I wasn't offered anything. I was not, so, you know, I mean, if somebody comes to me and say, we have a way forward so that we know that your child has had these services and can benefit from them, but we're not gonna get them that way. I didn't know about AIS at that point. My older child had not needed those services, so I was unaware. But even that, you know, I mean, it's, so what is there for those families?
So typically, if a child is declassified, there's declassification services that are offered. I don't know because I wasn't part of the meeting, right?
Right.
Well,
I don't remember
just to let you, just to let you know, what's available, right? So every student, whether they're special education students or not, are entitled to what we have as MTSS-I, okay, which is the services that are tiered, intervention services that are here in the buildings, every building, every student is entitled to receive. So what I would do if I was running a meeting is let parents know what next steps are. We don't just cut students off because some students are dependent on certain things, right? So to speak to what happened in your meeting, I don't know, but we typically have next steps for families, what it would look like in the buildings for them. So whether it's a building level service, whether it be a tier 3 service, which would be a child can receive speech or a child can receive OT or not PT, just OT as a tiered intervention service, but not necessarily have an IEP for them. But another thing they can do is, like I said, the procedural safeguards in the beginning, you had a right at that time to say I'm not in agreement and then take the next steps, whether it's to call another CSE meeting with someone else like the director's level, because typically the CSEs are handled by the psychologist. If you're not satisfied by the results that, you know, happened, you have a right to call another meeting to express your concerns about the meetings and appeal the decisions. So there is an appeal process if you are not happy with the decision that a committee has granted. But you also have to realize, as a committee, you are part of the committee. It's not the committee versus parent. You are part of the discussion, you are part of that committee. And a lot of the misconception is that since, you know, we have the degrees or the expertise that we are the committee. We are not the committee. You, in fact, are the expert of your child. So you have to make sure that you're voicing your concerns as part of the committee, not that it's the committee versus parent. It's not that way. You are part of the committee.
I mean, I hope it's improved because thinking back, the trauma of it.
No.
I received the report the day before the meeting.
And you shouldn't have. It should
And
be 5 days.
I had no time to get paperwork, you know, some sort of report from my own therapist to rebut what was in.
Right.
And it was, so I'm glad to hear that. I didn't know that. And this
So
was
you're supposed to get it 5 days in advance, and not only that, you as a parent say, I need to change the meeting date. You don't have to have the meeting on that date, right? If you are not prepared for that meeting, you have a right to say I need to reschedule this meeting and gather whatever information and evidence. Not only that, you received the report the day before, which should have happened. Committee members are supposed to call you in advance and go over those reports and answer any questions for you. So the second time you're really hearing that information is during the meeting. It's not the first time you should hear any of the information. You should be able to hear it multiple times before you actually get to that CSC meeting. So that way you have all of your questions, any concerns you have that can be addressed during that meeting.
Could I offer a suggestion? Can you hear me? I try to raise my hand. I don't know if you could see it. I'm like struggling. But I understand what you're talking about, Amy. I had a similar situation, not in this district, in another one, where my child used to receive speech for CPSE and then he got declassified before kindergarten. And one thing I will say that was helpful, and maybe that's something we can offer as well, is even though he was declassified because it was mostly for articulation issues, um, they gave us a list of programs you can still use that could assist with articulation. So, for example, I felt like he still needed some speech assistance, and even they agreed, but because of whatever the guidelines were, he was no longer considered, um, he wouldn't be able to be in speech for kindergarten. So what I did is I put him in like Mercy. Mercy has a speech program. And they actually said they take a lot of children that are in a similar boat. And we paid a fee. I think it was $20. Your insurance covers most of it per session. You have like the professor with you. It's usually a student that's there. There was also, I think, Iona has a program, and there was like maybe one or two other programs. Iona, I remembered being filled, but having that resource was extremely helpful. So, I mean, the suggestion might be, because I know that is common, even like now when I speak to some of his friends, a lot of people were in CPSC services for various reasons. Um, and a lot of them get declassified before kindergarten. So that could maybe be an idea if we could come up with a resource, even if we put the resource on the website, where for children who are being declassified from CPSC to CSE, maybe have a list of resources that they can use, such as Mercy's program, Iona's program. I think Fordham has a program, if I'm correct. But even beyond just the colleges, because they usually offer it for a pretty discounted price since they are students that are working with them. Um, I'm sure there's other resources out there also. So that's just a thought that could probably help in that type of situation, because that is pretty common.
I've never not offered, so that's, it's disheartening to hear, but I've never not offered a solution or an alternative to a parent during a transition meeting. Because, hearing that your child is gonna be declassified without any supports, typically your child is entitled to receive supports for another additional year, not with an IEP, but it's called declassification supports. So for a child to just not receive anything, unless they're superior, like they test superior, for them to not receive any supports afterwards, it's not typical.
I think one of my concerns as a parent who's in the know, who knows the system, is the parents who don't.
Don't know.
And the non-English speaking parents who are also not aware of what they're, like the procedural safeguards are wonderful, but not everybody reads them fully. Not everybody knows that they have the right to postpone a meeting or to request specific services. In addition, with the students who are transitioning, a lot of parents don't know what's out there, and when does that conversation, a 1 hour CSE meeting is so short. So who do they reach out to find out what's the programming for transition services?
So for transition services, just so you know, I don't know if you attended before you had that transition meeting, a transition, there's usually a workshop that's held. It's a transition workshop. So it's the transition from CPSC to CSE, where a lot of that is explained and what happened if your child is declassified. I'm just thinking of the one, I usually give this presentation every February, right before the transition annual review time happens. And typically, I talk about declassification and what that looks like and what services can be provided to a child and what it looks like if a child is classified. Talking about parents' rights. And I give this out a lot, but I also did a training with going over the procedural safeguards with families and what it means, and give parents the opportunity to ask questions about the procedural safeguards and what they're on. So.
And what can parents do for the older kid? Because I know that the knowledge of when does the conversation is had when you discuss how long is your child going to stay in the high school? When are they going to graduate? What is available for them? And then I know as a parent, with the dreams about the Ivy is great, but my daughter's like, I wanna be a singer, because she thinks she's gonna be Taylor Swift, and I'm like, this is not happening, we're gonna get a job.
Plan B.
So, you know, when we have those real discussions about this is what your child's needs are, and then this is really what we're looking at. I know there's life skills colleges, but I find that for the older kids, a lot of times, there's not those real discussions where parents have to just be faced with the realities of what the future is and to plan for it, because the planning is so important. I've been on transition services since my kid was 5, so I'm a little bit like overboard. But I fear for the parents who don't know enough, who don't have the information they need to be able to support their child to have meaningful employment once they leave high school.
And I'm gonna say that, you know, this is day like 43 for me, right? So, you know, and part of this is engaging in conversations like this, right? So having a lot of conversations with families, I've had a lot of conversations with families. A lot of my conversations have been sparked by me visiting children in the classroom and then just picking up the phone and saying, hey, I visited your child. And, you know, starting the conversations that way. But a lot of this type of forum needs to happen in terms of special education, where they can ask questions, but since a lot of it is so individualized, they can contact me at any time, and I usually have those meetings with them, with the families.
Steve, a couple of things. Is there anything online right now with the district that goes over some of these things that people can bring in?
No, the whole website or special education needs to be updated. And I'm being very honest with you, it needs to be updated. And I didn't want to go in and just update it because I need to learn the community first, right? And see what the needs are of the kids and go into the classrooms to see what information would be valuable to the families. When I introduced myself to the students or the families with students with IEPs, I sent out an initial email introducing myself, but also, you know, put resources about understanding the rights. So that is, you know, statewide, everyone should know what that rights are. But for me to know and hone in on what specific needs the families have, it's about me going into the classrooms and getting to know the classrooms, getting to know the families, what the specific are. So I don't want to just put random, you know.
Second thing is there some way to have a mentoring program for in Woodland who can come down and talk with somebody at the Jackson?
The parents or the kids?
Yeah. Because, you know, we're sitting here now and I recognize most of the people here, but there may be some things that need to know that somebody can get to 11th and 12th grade and really good, but they're scared.
I would think
So every year we solicit for parent advocates, so I hear parents tonight sharing stories. Volunteer to be a parent advocate if you can, because that's helpful for parents to definitely have another parent at your CEC meeting, another parent that you can check in with and ask questions, you know, it's very helpful.
Yeah, and it's also through SEPTA too. If you have a SEPTA, the SEPTA PTA, which is the special education PTA, is where you would find a lot of those resources, and I would work with that SEPTA person and be a part of the meetings so that I'm available to answer any questions and provide any of the information to families, such as transition planning, such as, you know, any next steps.
I know we have an English language learner community parent university coming up. Have you planned to integrate some of this, even just from a high level, some of this information into that so that that community can start to realize these resources and learn to
into the one that's next week?
Yes. That one, no, we didn't work on that. That was, but let me take a look at that. See, because that typically has a standard, format, but I mean, if we're finding that there's a need, we need to make room. I will say, as an advocate and not in the community, so I don't need to speak on behalf of anyone, but I have noticed that our migrant families coming in, it's such a different school culture. And knowing that there are services available or that students even need them because the school culture is so very different, is a leap. So the more it comes to our community, the less that we.
I'm thinking about time also, because if it's something that we can create another opportunity for that, that would probably be helpful in sharing.
So specifically about children who have special needs, or who are not, I guess, performing, I guess, at a whatever is expected. For me as a parent, I never, in coming up through district from pre-K, it's multiple children. I never understood why parents had to push for and ask for special education services. Because if the staff is seeing certain things, I didn't understand why parents would have to know, because very often children are in family settings, and the children that may be on the cusp or maybe having learning difficulties in one area, and maybe the family doesn't necessarily pick it up, or maybe the family makes adjustments at home just because that's the family and they raised the child and they don't necessarily know it's something that can be assisted. I learned that the school can actually initiate. Right, so, but I'm saying that, everyone's nodding here, but parents don't necessarily know that. And if this, parents may get phone calls or reports or whatever, and no one's saying, we think that the kid was about it. That's a little concerning as well, and I don't know how to help that. But that's just something I'm observing.
Yeah, I can answer that for you. Reason why parents are a necessity, because they have to okay it. There are some parents who do not want their kids labeled. I was going to ask a question about 504. 504 was the other way of actually, because 504 gives you certain, benefits as a student, like extra test time and stuff like that, and their parents like that better than having their child, because that's what all special ed children get, extra time, extra things. And I know some parents, when I worked at the school, did not want their child labeled special ed. So the necessity of the parents going along with it is very important, because they're the ones also who have to be the advocate, have to push for a lot of the stuff that's there. And then if they're fighting you, the school and everything else, it becomes very tough. But question to add on to that was, you might not know now, but that's maybe for the next meeting or whatever. What is the percentage of our population is special ed? Okay. Also, too, how many children are getting 504? Percentage of 504 needs.
We don't have a lot of 504 requests like we might see in other districts. So most of our 504 students is because of medical necessity. So many more or so is there an understanding, or I was going to get to with the staff being able to initiate, is there a true understanding from the staff, or is that when your department's going to do some education to the staff around how to identify, right? When there's issues, as opposed to just calling home with concerns or complaints or reports, to identify that in fact there may be an issue that can be helped.
So that's where the MTSSI process comes in, and there's a lot of there's meetings within the building teams. So within those meetings, they have the discussions, and they provide the teachers with insight on strategies on how to support the student before getting to that special education referral. But there are teachers that do refer students, so I think there is a level of understanding that they can, but I think a lot of what I'm hearing is that about the parent buy-in part, because they want to make sure that the parent is going to be okay with that process. And that whole label thing is real. We already know that that's real. There's a stigma attached to special education, but through educating families on, you know, the needs of their child and how special education will support their child or an IEP would support their child. And that takes education at all levels, including, you know, families that are bilingual. And helping them to understand, because the bilingual families, it's very real that they do not want their child classified, because when you say special education in Spanish, you know, they're like, oh, my child is receiving, you know, a special education. They don't realize that it is a child with an IEP with a plan and what that plan includes.
And that's what made me ask additional question. I've had this with the parent, but then also when Ms. Ives asked that question, a family who doesn't speak the language, who may be new in the country, may not understand our education system, you would need the school to play more of a role.
Absolutely.
To outreach and say, we offer these services.
So the funny thing, a conversation that I recently had was this misconception that if a child comes into the country that we have to wait a certain amount of years in order for them to receive like a referral, right, to special education. But again, it was a teachable moment in that moment to help that individual understand that the regulations, Part 200 and Part 154, which is for English language learners, are a balanced scale. So one doesn't overweigh the other. They are a balanced scale. And if we notice that a child that does not speak English is struggling, not because it's language acquisition, but you notice that the child might have a speech articulation concern. That's something that you would bring up to the child study team to see if you know, those services can be done in the tier, like a ERS counseling or ERS speech, or, you know, because that can be done without having an IEP. But if they need an evaluation, then we conduct a bilingual evaluation to make sure that the child gets the services.
Just listening to everything, it's just amazing, because I went through the experience with my second child. And I would like to say, I mean, this is almost, she's in 7th grade now, so. The great thing is that we didn't have, and I'm sorry for the person that went through it, but we didn't have that experience. The school reached out to us and said, your child needs help in these specific areas, and we're going to adjust the program to be able to suit you, right? That was one. The second one, you know, not that we lost that battle, but we were told that she didn't need it. And to your point, we were able to set up a follow-up and be able to advocate for our child with a little stronger, with a little stronger case, and we would put in front of a panel of people who considered the story, and then, you know, took into account everything that we were speaking about. Because to your point, we know our kids best, and we were able to get her support. The great thing is that she ultimately, the first one weaned off of it. Now she's in regular classes. And the great thing is that even in RJB, some of the classes that she was in, I think it was SCON, I saw transitions happening. There were kids who had special needs who were also part of her class. So this is happening in our school district. And it's a great thing, because the tools are there for us to continue to succeed. And under your leadership, you know, I expect it to improve even further. I'm speaking as a parent as well, and I think that was the point brought up by Steve and by Ms. Ives, that, you know, we need that communication to be improved. I believe that in what most programs should be, which is to, I'm not gonna say dumb down, but at least make it so that a 9th grader can read it, so that it's easier to digest for people. So I think, you know, everything you're saying, as you're saying it, I'm seeing it as a visual roadmap that people can look at and digest along the way, their career path or their parental path in the school system can have these milestones that can be triggered by calendars, you know, like calendar alerts on your phone. You know, right from the very start, when you set up that game plan with the parent, you can literally put in their calendar that, you know, you remind them that we need to check in to do this, we need to do that. Even if it's not gonna happen, at least it's in their calendar. And it's a beautiful thing, because then that conversation just continues, even when you forget about it, right? Or maybe they're out of the system, at least you have that that time to be able to update the system. So I really see a huge benefit of what's going to happen. I'm looking forward to it, but I'm also curious, how does this relate to the International Baccalaureate career related to it? And can it tie into it? Because it's a transitional director that you look at. And because these are career oriented courses or whatever the case may be, I don't know how IB works 100%, but is there a way to see how that works? You know, like, not to say that they're one and the same, because I know they're two routes, but is there something there that could stimulate? Because I mean, at the end of the day, all our Falcons are Falcons straight through, you know, so we're all gonna be in the same building. We're all gonna be acceptable and increase our empathy for everyone. So being that we're all in the same building, how can we benefit from that? Maybe there's cost savings there by that one person doing both tasks, or is there a way to integrate the program for that person who will be
So that,
in both?
so there's two parts, so the transition person, I don't necessarily mean hiring somebody to come in to do it, it's really looking at our social workers and looking at what we have here in district to help support with the transition efforts, because one, that's part of what they should be doing, right? So guidance is guiding students towards college and towards other paths. It's guidance, you know, also choosing, you know, or helping our students with disabilities and their path as well. And I think they do that already. We just don't call it transition, right? We don't call it like transition. So they're doing that. But it's really more of streamlining. Okay, this might be my point person, specific transitions for our more severe students. In terms of IB, that's another question that really needs to be, you know, answered.
I can interject just to say that we're an IB for all district, right? So I think part of the task, I'm so glad to have this team, by the way. So part of the task with Dr. Furuki as an IB for all, we have started to have conversation about what it looks like and the perception of IB being some like exclusive, you know, but understanding that we're expecting at those same attributes across skill sets, across abilities, right? So that's part of, and that's part of the work we're also, you know, there's things coming that I think you're aware of in terms of understanding the journeys of our different students and making that more visible. So that communication piece and using the tools that you have spoken about with being the website and, you know, posting things and emails and things like that. That's what the plan is in terms of listening this year and working out what is the best entry point for all of these.
And I'll add that the IB traits, the traits that they teach all the kids from kindergarten. Are as well.
And I'll see our pre-K is on it too.
They
said we are IB also, even though.
Yes. Please rephrase my question. A long time ago, my mother was a teacher, an educator, and she dealt with a lot of students that needed help with English was not their first language. And at the time, there was a wholesale attitude of moving them into special courses, which was not fair and almost caused damage. And do we have that? I just want to make sure that these things don't happen. Also, some kids are just difficult in the classroom. When they get moved in, they have special needs, so they get them out of the classroom. That's also another one of my concerns. There's also kids that are learners that are different.
Right.
Okay, they're different learners. Personally, I can tell you that I had one of those children with different learners. It was a director at Eli Lilly. So I just show you that you have to identify them correctly, because if they get labeled, instead they internalize. And my concern is that these things get identified carefully and then the system works. And who's identifying who needs that special need? Is it the teacher who's not trained and just wants some peace and something in the classroom, or the parents that don't know it because they're
they're not keyed in, so I'm just. I can tell you, historically, that, Ron Smalls, when he was teaching in Greenwich, he came from Bosley, and before that, he was from a special act school. And he came and saw that our percentage was high relative to other schools. And he got mad because he said I was loud and I was kind of obnoxious when I was going through school. And people might have classified me. But then he went through, so he did a whole run through a reevaluation of everybody with special needs. But it didn't turn out that he had done it. Now, I don't know what you've seen since then.
So, I can share with you, before I was a director of special education in PPS, I was a director for 6 years for bilingual education and English as a new language. So I'm well aware of what happens if there's confusion between language acquisition and disability because they present the same. I'm gonna tell you that I haven't had the experience where there's a lot of English learners in this district that are duly classified. So that's one thing. I think they do pay attention to that. Even the comment saying, oh, do we have to wait 2 years? Alone tells you that they're cognizant of making sure that the child acquires some language, right? But that response wasn't correct either. We want to make sure that if a child has a learning disability or if a child has a speech language, that we give the children the evaluations that they need bilingually. So that's one. The buck stops with me, right? And I am very well aware that I'm a gatekeeper in terms of, programs and things like that, but I take a lot of pride in reviewing evaluations. I'm actually changing the referrals. I'm sorry, not evaluations, the referrals. I'm actually changing the referrals so that they're a little bit more comprehensive. So that teachers have to I'm requiring teachers and providers to provide me with more information before a child goes to a CSE referral or CSE evaluation. So a lot of that comes through me, all of it comes through me, and I review all of that documentation. If I have questions, which I typically do, I go back and I ask the questions, have we tried this, have we tried that? But that's also outlined, should be clearly outlined on a referral. I expect children to go through the tiered processes here in the buildings before they go to special education. And those things are reviewed, and they're reviewed thoroughly, so I can assure you that they're reviewed thoroughly. You might see a peak now, or a lot of the districts across New York have a higher percentage, as you just mentioned, but a lot of it has to do with the pandemic and students not getting services. So you'll see that the rates of special education are higher right now, but then you'll start to see them go down. Because there are a number of children that did not receive services. So the school districts are now, have the burden of, providing those services that these students should have received in preschool or early intervention. That they did not.
Also not to sound redundant, but listening to what was being said tonight, this is for a board decision. I think there is a need for a person to be a transition person. I think that's something you can look at and kind of discuss, because what I'm hearing and being part of the school district and knowing the school district for the last almost 30+ years, a lot has changed. But one of the things is also too, with the pathways to graduation change. Because who knows, in a couple of years, they might even have regents. That was one of the biggest issues that we had. Kids couldn't pass the regents, so they could graduate. Okay, so they actually either aged out or GED or whatever. But I'm listening and I'm seeing that, knowing the school district, that is a very important position. I know they had one for the regular kids and they had the readiness. I think Ms. Levy was doing it for the high school kids, getting ready for college and stuff like that. I think with this situation, especially since we have a 20 percentile, maybe a little bit more, that's a necessity that should be talked about. to help, because that's gonna make things much easier for everybody. Because when you have too many people getting involved, you know, with the transition, you got the guidance counselor, the social worker, the psychologist. We need maybe one person, that's their main job to do. And I think that can help a lot, especially down the line when it comes to our children, you know, getting what they need to transition from high school out of high school.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is probably not your resort, but still, my kids were over a decade out of the school district, and but at that time when I think my last child graduated from high school before he graduated, one of the principals in the school then, and there's several administrations, they both were the current one, approached my wife, who you knew that my wife was very engaged and everyday school activities and all that. And he approached her and said, this particular student will not pass any of the tests that they have to take. I think it was a girl at this point, or whatever. And he did this several times for several students, and my wife just gave them free tutoring at the library, stuff like that. And one girl was so bad she couldn't even read at high school level. She couldn't read tests. My wife pulled a couple of other women together with her from the community. They got her to the point that she actually passed all the tests that she needed to. And I mean, that wasn't a special education student. That was a student that wasn't supported by parents, not at all. And she was socially promoted all along. Now, I wonder if that is still the case or not. If you have those kind of students in the district, if you do, I think you might have to pay attention. It's very. I mean, not everybody expects my wife will have to jump in and do a lot of work with stuff.
So that's a good point. So what Mr. Homer said is that parent that did it, was it that parental neglect? Or did that child possibly have a need that wasn't addressed? And then what happens, great, it maybe makes me wonder, what happens, does the school then identify, you have students that are 3 and 4 or 5 levels of grades, whatever, below, do they become like automatically getting additional supports, or like what happens?
That's the tiered support, so based on the assessments, and because you should agree, because it's. But based on the tiered supports, we have various assessments. It's not just one single assessment that's utilized, and from that a determination is made. It's a if-then scenario. But what we do in each building is we have data meetings where the teacher meets with the professionals, and if this child has a related service provider, that person is there in the room, and we go through the scores and the next steps with that student, because there might be need in one area, not another, right? So that's looked at. And because of that, we have specific buildings, they each have their own, and this year we're doing it, we're holding even further into it in terms of schools having their own plans. And making sure that that's clear, so that it's well understood and communicated with the community around what their goals are. And a part of each of their plans is to ensure that operational system is there.
And school to school too, right? Because we have a lot of transition.
Well, in terms of that transition, that's not in their individual school plans, but that's, yes, something that is happening. But in terms of school buildings and this process of ensuring that there's intervention within the MTSS process, that's what I'm speaking about, to address the needs of students that might be compliant.
Okay. At this point, it's 8:05. Good, I didn't realize there was all this depth. I was giving you a lot more feedback than I thought we were going to have, but thank you for coming. How can people contact you if they need to talk to you?
So the best way to get in contact with me is via email. And my email is acabell, ACABBELL at greenburghcsd.org. And that's the best way, or they can just go right to the website and go to special education. All of my information is there as well.
Beautiful. Okay.
And just to add, for those who are listening, who might know parents that are English language learners, we do have a couple, so we have the October 29th. I sent a message to the director, who already texted back and said he will look into it to see if that, depending on schedules, or maybe join them on the special ed to tell the English language learner families to come to that. But in February, it is posted, the parent universities are posted, and I just double checked, the February meeting is around that transition, so just let everyone know. All right.
Okay. All right, could you bring up the agenda?
Yes.
So we're gonna exit.
No, you have to stay.
Yes.
It's actually, you have to stay. You cannot leave. We have to stay.
We're gonna try and blaze through as much of the remaining agenda and as quickly as possible.
Thank you.
Okay, looking at the agenda, the meetings are listed. We're now on 10/23. The next time will be in RJ Bailey, and we rotate through the schools, and we'll have to try a couple of, we'll go to the Theater Young Community Center at some point, we'll do the Greenburgh Town Hall Art Show, and on around. At the bottom of the page are the members that were approved by the board. So in terms of voting on any particular recommendation, in case things get controversial, you've got Miguel Barrios, Amy Geddes, Samantha Ives, Kelly Johnson, Burley Woodward, and Damon Yinesaw. That's who the board has approved. Does anybody else want to? Great. Mission and charges. Last time we discussed our mission, and you'll see in roll for the second page on the. There we go. So modifications that were suggested was we took one of the bullets and made it the mission, and we added an outreach bullet under the charges. So the mission statement now reads: the Greenburgh Central, the GCSD Community Engagement Committee shall make recommendations to the Board of Education to build trust with the community and to strengthen public perception of our school district. And then the new bullet is under our charges, make recommendations for ways to outreach to community members who do not have students enrolled in the district. So those were the changes that we discussed last time. Does anybody see anything that they want to change further? Okay. And online, okay. How many of you, okay, how many of you recommend that these be the charges and mission statement that is approved by the board? If you say aye. Aye. Okay. Okay. And are there any nays? Motion passes. Okay. Outdoor outreach to non-parents. So far, well, we talked about this last time, right? So we talked about opportunities for community participation. We get a list of those and then put them in the newsletter, post them in various places, and try and get people to come to events in which they can hopefully interact with the students. And I've listed here what I know of that's commonly used. You've got the Read Across America initiative in the spring, in which you go into classrooms and read to the children. You've got the winter concerts, the spring concerts, the Woodlands High School and RJ Bailey musicals, the Highview Talent Show, the art shows, the IB Art Show and the Town Hall Art Show, the fitness center, and the possibly we'll rent out our tennis courts, so make use of our athletic facility piece a little bit more. That's what I know about. Anybody want to add anything to that? Yeah, what?
So a lot of the Hispanic events that happen are never attended by I don't think enough people. So I don't know if it's always isolated to just the Hispanic families, but I mean, I'm pretty sure if we were to just promote it to invite other people from the outside, that would be more than happy to hold festivities. I think like the one that happens in RJB is great. I think Mr. Farrow is the one who spearheads that effort, and they recently had a very successful one at the center stage.
We could do that. We could also, we could do it for all of them, right? We have certain months, so there's like, there's Chinese New Year and then there's the Martin Luther King Day, yeah. So, all right. Well, yes.
Not to put you two on the spot, but Annie, Mr. Sven, you guys don't have children in the district right now.
Not anymore.
What, not anymore? What would draw the attention of folks who don't have children in the district? Do you have any suggestions other than what's here?
I'd say maybe just some ethnic events that are being celebrated in the school districts, why not? Like Chinese, stuff like that, you know. I have neighbors that moved in 2 years ago, and the only thing I heard about the school is they don't plan on having kids, and there's a young couple, but they don't want to have kids, and they moved here because the city was too expensive for them, and they moved closer to where they were. But one of the first and only big comment I heard when I talked to him in the yard, to him, the guy, he said, "Man, the school taxes are high here." So it'd be good to, I mean, they have the money, it's not that they can't pay it. But he was noticing that it was much higher than in the city.
Yes.
You know, and he came from the city. And to get people like that, it's a young couple, they're in their 30s, you know. To get somebody interested, you have to show them maybe some of the events that, I mean, they're Chinese, you know, they might go to something as Chinese, or Halloween, they love Halloween.
Yeah.
So also to add one too with that, is that school district should have an event just for that. I know, well, I'm just saying, you know, you can figure up something for you the next month or before Christmas, whatever, where you can just invite strictly parents who don't have children in the school district. That's something that you have to just classify. This event is for parents who don't have children in the school
And they're
district.
not parents. They're
What?
adults. They're adults. They're not
Yeah,
parents.
adults.
Hi. I don't, sorry, this is Nicole. In terms of, you know, an event like that, has it ever been thought about doing like a district event with like a multicultural celebration where we're including, since we are a very diverse community, people from all ethnic backgrounds can come and celebrate. We can get the local restaurants to maybe provide food, have people come in their ethnic clothing, and do like different like dances, things like that. That will bring a lot of people in the community together, especially those who are new in the area.
So you would have to do it towards the end of the year because then everybody's gone through their initial cultural celebration and they can reuse pieces of it. All right, go ahead.
I was going to say, can you combine some of that? Like, so I know like Woodlands, for example, at the end of the year, they have a big multicultural event. I remember Lee F. Jackson used to have one from back in the day. I don't know if they still do, but maybe instead of reinventing the wheel, I think that's a great idea what Nicole mentioned, perhaps having a multicultural event where we kind of tie that all together. We could have like the children that come out with Woodlands, they do performances, they have dances, they have a really nice event. We could kind of just make it a little larger. Maybe make that as a community engagement type of an event.
So can I build on a little bit? So I hear a lot of suggestions for things that are already happening in the district and opening the invitation up to community members outside. So I'd like to explore a partnership with Town Hall for their various newsletters. If we have something like, I'm gonna throw the PTA out there and say trunk or treat, because it's already an enormous undertaking for the PTA.
Right.
But for school events like multicultural nights, Black History Month assemblies, if that's something that we have the capacity to have community members here, we don't always, you know. But if we do, can we make a concerted effort to create an infographic, make an appealing flyer, get it to Town Hall and blast it ahead of time enough that people know to put it on their calendar? It would be great if we could establish that kind of information flow, because
all of these things exist, our community loves them, that they're of such high value, it's hard to get people who don't have children in the district to pay attention to our social media, why would they? And even if they were subscribed, it may get lost in their feed because they don't have kids in the district. So we need to be proactive, and on that line, in ways can we showcase our district in the community? And I'm thinking specifically of Aisha Parker's initiative last year and this year through the PTA to do a costume swap at Hartsbrook, where that was attached to the PTA table with Greenburgh, bright green, and we were out there with our community resources and our parent information pamphlets, and next to our table, she had collected a couple hundred costumes from the community that had been worn once and gave them away to a couple hundred kids in our district, not in our district, that brought a lot of families. I talked to a lot of families from our district and from around. Where can we find times like that? Which parades can we make sure our jazz band gets to? Can Jazz Fest at TDYCC feature our jazz band at some point? We have enormous talent. I would love to find ways to showcase our kids without putting them too on the spot, but to not just ask that the community join us, but also find ways that we can get out to the community.
Well, I mentioned it last time, that Paul Finer, in the town, goes out to everybody.
Yes.
And the reason why I'm not being, but the reason why I'm looking at something separate for adults. We don't have children, that's something separate we should have, because when we have events, people do come, especially RJ Bailey. RJ Bailey's phenomenal, he doesn't have anything. People, because I think RJ Bailey is actually like the meeting grounds, because it's Fairview. And a lot of the people, especially a lot of the new immigrants who are moving in, everybody else who live in the Fairview area. I live right down the street along there. So Bailey, when they have something, it's always phenomenal because it's in walking distance and it's there. Joseph at the high school, you have to get arrangements, drivers. So something I'm looking at where we can so back have the adults who don't have children. That's something that should be separate, because by bringing it into something where we can just sit back and highlight that gives us more just to talking to them. Because if we have like which we do with multicultural and bring in everybody, it's almost like talking to a choir. We want to get the new folks. These are also people too who will be voters. Okay, we need certain things to get into the community. That's why I'm looking at it at that aspect of it. I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying. Just saying that's that core of people. A lot of them that live in this area right now. Okay, that you need to actually reach out to and get them more involved.
I think there are ways to do that. Agreeing with you, I think there are ways to do that with the resources we have, so that we're not putting ourselves out too much.
Yeah.
But to really target discount tickets for seniors at the musical or free tickets for seniors at the musical. If Bailey's doing something, a concert, we would love to. The first 3 rows are reserved for you. You haven't been to the district before, come join us. There are ways that we can get out into the community and invite people to things that are already happening. I agree with you that maybe a showcase would be great. I'm mindful of our resources for all of it.
So you have to first just make sure people register first, so you don't overdo. What happens is if you're looking at something, you know, you don't want to overdo where you have all this food, all this stuff,
right,
and nobody shows up. You want to have people to register, then you can tell by the registration of people who are interested, because you can do that like 2 months in advance, that you can have something of a magnitude or something that's small. Where that now you know maybe 100 people signed up, which is good, 50 people or even more. That way you can plan and have something that's for exclusive for everybody who shows up. Like we always plan, we have events and all this food and everything, and nobody shows up. So
What makes this, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Just very briefly, to cement this point, a lot of districts will do a senior citizen show for whether a musical.
Yeah.
Specific to.
Yeah.
Specific.
Yeah.
So much free district.
Okay. Okay.
That is the addressing, so Fridays.
Okay. Okay. And sometimes with a little
Seniors.
coffee or tea, and you kind of like sometimes build that into, so.
So that has been done before, but when you were talking, I was thinking about the musical because that did come up, with the musical. It's a performance that the kids in the high school do, but we did open it up and at different years, different times, really advertise that to the larger community that don't have kids and people who love the arts in this district. People who live here, who choose to live here without kids, the history of you know, Fairview in particular, but the history of this community with the arts has been huge, and so they do come out and support the musical, the art show that we have in town hall. So really advertising those things well, really letting people know about them, encouraging them to come, encouraging them to be wise mentors and to help, you know, if you don't have kids, but to help a young person get into the field that you have expertise in is also, I think.
One way to change it, doesn't get you up there, we change it too is that seniors just have discounts all the way through. You have one night, that's the problem sometimes, the night doesn't fit there. So you have it, music's gonna be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, it should be Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Every night there should be a discount, that way you might be able to get that.
So I have to run, but I was in another district many years ago and the high school, they hosted for the community, but they had a senior prom. And it was senior citizens with their grandchildren. So you have folks in the district who don't have children at all. They have a niece or a nephew. And now they have an opportunity to come to this senior prom because it is not senior in high school, but it's all of the seniors in the district. And if they are able to come and there's something, let's just say it's in the high school gym, maybe there's a tour of the building or something like that, but or to see the ground outside, but it invites, and the jazz band, absolutely, they can be the ones who are playing at the senior prom as everyone is dancing. And but I know it was very successful in a district where I was. They had done it over year after year after year. And I actually brought up the idea to have it here one time, and the superintendent at the time kind of poo-pooed and said, it's not a great idea, let's maybe next year. I kind of thought it was a good idea. That's
Thing, it beats, you know, the small world after all, or unity, but yeah, okay.
Yes, whatever the theme is, but as a senior prom, it's not their senior prom, it's bringing a whole new crop of people.
Maybe call it against it. I mean, senior prom sounds nice because it's usually called the senior prom, but it's a play on words, but maybe call it the taxpayers.
I don't remember when that was, but where the, and we opened the district to having, seniors come in or just adults that are tech savvy. And the kids were teaching the adults how to use, remember that?
That was just a handful of
That was, but yeah.
That's actually happening at CEC.
Oh, yeah?
So they have a sponsoring, and this is what kind of hurts me, not hurts me, but every time I see anything from the town hall, it's always kids from Edgemont. So Edgemont volunteers are doing this for the community, and it's constant. So, you know, like if you look at the Greenburgh Angels program, right, Winter Angels, those are Edgemont volunteers who go out and they shovel for senior citizens that can't shovel during the winter. They also do a couple of other programs, including like the tech program, right? And they're volunteering their time to help people who are not as tech savvy to figure things out. So it's like encouraging our kids within our school district as well to take on these initiatives, not only because it helps them for their write-ups for college and so forth, but also, you know, if they're in high honors, you know, they also have to do community service and whole 9 yards. So it fits a lot of bills, like checks off a lot of things. But how do we advocate that on the inside? So I don't do it. I'm not exposed to it, so.
So, and I have this conversation with the board members, you guys can vouch for this. Part of it is, see you later, Mr. Evans. Part of it, what I have seen, because a lot of my kids do events, and we will see the Greenburgh, it's Ardsley, Edgemont kids, and my daughter will say, like, I'm the only kid from Woodlands, how come I'm not? And a lot of it is parent pushed, you know, the parent, you have to encourage your child to try different things and to do things, and I challenge the board all the time to think not like us, think beyond our children, think beyond ourselves and our experiences, and try to think about that parent that showed up at the board meeting or that parent that sent an email and what other parents and families may need. So to answer, I think what you're saying, Miguel, is that we have to think about all the children here in Greenburgh. We may have a small subset of children or a large subset whose parents are very involved that will push them to do these things, but all of our children as a whole, we have to keep giving that same message to our children, their peers, their cohort, their whole class, to try these activities, to do these things. We have to make these opportunities available for everyone. So it's not just the parents who are very involved, it's the, as Mr. Holger, kids who are either neglected, and it doesn't have to mean they're neglected on purpose because of a bad parent. It could be a parent working 2 jobs. It could be a parent that, doesn't understand the culture, that is afraid. Or we have, children that are in foster care that don't have parents, and we know that, but we don't think about them all the time. And that, when we talk about the acceptance use policy, right? Who's signing for a kid, we need to reach out to the kid, we need to reach out to the caregiver, because it may not be that traditional mom or dad in the home that's supposed to take care of that kid. So.
Trace, can I chime in? Hi guys. When it comes to I want to go back to what we were talking about engaging the seniors, and I loved all those ideas. But one thing I think we might want to consider when we're doing like a senior night for the musical, which I think is a great opportunity to get seniors out, but we need to consider transportation, because a lot of seniors, some of them can't drive. And then there's also the situation where a lot of them don't like to drive at night, right? As it gets darker, a lot of times the glare from the lights. I know a lot of seniors that say, it's just too late. I prefer not to drive. So perhaps if we want to make a greater reach to some of our senior community, we might want to consider transportation as well.
Buses we share all the time. I mean, a lot of things. I hate to say, because I've been in this committee for over 30 plus years. When we did a lot of things, especially when we owned our own buses. Mr. Spry, those who go way back when he was running it. We used to bring home kids when they had parties afterwards. We used to have a bus, bring them home, because walking from Woodlands, they'll wait for your parents to get here. Then it's a safety issue too, because the fact that if they know there's transportation, they'll leave, but they don't want to walk home. And that was our biggest problem. I used to sit here and do dances and stuff. It's like kids are here until 12 o'clock. 12:30, like, okay, when you're going home and everything else, since I live local, sometimes I just haul them in my van and take them home. But those are things like for the senior centers, especially the community that's like right in the Fairview area. If you have some here at Woodlands where, you're gonna need to have stops. I know Manhattan Avenue is perfect. That's walking distance. You have the people who live right there, they can go. I don't think the people in the hills, they got cars, so they can get there anywhere they want. But the people who don't have transportation, you can just have like at this certain time at Oak Street, Manhattan Avenue, there's gonna be a bus that's gonna transport you to the school for an event, okay, or even TDY, whatever. So they know that there's something where they're gonna get in and get a chance to come and get a chance to go home. So, that's when you say transportation. And, it's like I said, I don't know what the bus company's gonna charge, because you gotta pay a job, but still, it's worth it. I say it's worth the money, because that's engagement in the community, and that's something that we want to push. And I think you can get a certain number of parents, who love to come here, especially the Woodlands. They even hear Highview, even Leah Jackson, Bailey, like I said, Mecca when it comes to any type of program that goes there. You always get overflow.
So it's safe ride for seniors. Safe ride for seniors. I have a question, and I like the idea of incorporating some of the communications using the town. I think the town, that website they have and the information that goes out is limited. It's not as broad as the communication you guys send out on a quarterly basis. Maybe you should increase that. Instead of a quarterly basis, I know it's a cost. I got it, but it might be beneficial, anyways. And the other thing is, we have to identify, are we talking about seniors, or are we talking about people without parents, people without children?
That's important.
It's like, it's hard, we have to know our target.
It's true.
We have to know our target before we move to a place of communicating with them. But and this is a question, because I know there's a couple of food events that happens in the district already. I know that there's the food events, which I forget about.
We used.
I don't like food.
The
Booster Club had this, this taste off, the Greenburgh taste off every year.
Okay.
And people would come to that and they'd have all the local restaurants would
Yeah.
compete.
Yeah, but I've been to one in Das Ferry. And they have ethnic foods.
Yeah.
They have people doing the ethnic.
And we have ethnic restaurants, yeah.
Yeah, but it's not, it's just, not only restaurants,
So
but
oxtail,
people,
right.
and also they provide ethnic entertainment. So it becomes like a world, a world thing, you know, but I mean, that's the kind of thing that I try, I mean, I know because
Okay.
I've been there a number of times because
Foods of the world.
different campaigns that I've been involved in.
Right.
I mean, I guess
Shaking hands.
Yeah, music.
Music.
Yeah, music, yeah, food.
You have the kids
You have
sing and dance.
entertainment, and you have things.
Yeah.
Any events that we have that touches all those is a perfect candidate
Yeah,
consideration.
and that's,
Overall, what I'm saying is just a suggestion. Does it make sense to hone in to see if we can find a dedicated community planner, kind of like a blind planner for the community event? Just focus on one major event for the year to use as a pilot program. To be able to establish the model that we can then apply to future events. And you know, then we can gradually increase those events over time.
and then you
But
add
at least for the first one.
a component to raise money. For
We can,
a cause.
absolutely, that's
For
one
a cause.
definitely.
Really,
But I wanna make sure that
one door
everyone's,
price is one door price,
not just us.
dance, eat.
Right.
And meet the local politicians.
Okay.
Can I something, please?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi. So I do love the idea of the community engagement. I would, one, be concerned, I hope that we're not even contemplating doing it for the wonderful assemblies that are during school time. So I hope that would be off limits to the public, because that should be like a secure time. But my other thing, so I have brought my niece before to see the school play, and it never dawned on me that it was only for the school. But at a lot of these events that are either on the weekends or at night, the security is often very lax, because you know, big groups are coming in all at the same time, and it's a lot to manage, a lot to handle. And sometimes that, you know, check-in process just goes by the wayside, because, you know, there's a time restraint that, you know, we have to keep programs running on time and what have you. So if you are inviting the public into the school, I hope that some arrangements would be made to support the head count, the security of checking in people that are not, you know, that do not frequent the school, as parents, as family members. I do think pre-registration is a great idea, because that will also help for planning. So you'll know how many people you're expecting. That will, you know, assist for the planning. But there have been some events that have been open to the public, because they get posted on the Facebook groups. Now, that might not reach a lot of the older community, you know, that don't, thinking of my mom per se, that doesn't really use social media. But I'm trying to think the name of it. I think the cook-off and you know, certain events like that, usually the outdoor events, are posted for the community to see. It would be interesting if people pre-registered, so we could actually see how many people participate in it, you know, that know about it, participate in it. But again, I think we could broadcast it in other ways, so the older population knows about it and it reaches more people. I think Mr. Feiner is very, very generous. He is always more than willing to announce great things that are happening in our school, and his blasts go out to everybody who signs up. So if they're interested in learning something about the school district, they should be signed up for that email blast and they can get it. But I think the pre-registration is a great idea. I think it would be great for an outside event. So it's not like people,
Okay.
it's just easier for security purposes, things like that. But I was just really concerned. I hope we have great assemblies, and I just hope that we weren't inviting them in during school hours. That's all.
We have Raptor. Well, we should have Raptor in place. You take care of everything. Yes. All right, we'll work on that.
David?
Yeah.
Sorry, just one quick, this is as basic as can be, but we can also utilize postcards a little bit more to reach the community. They're so cheap and easy. So, you know, if we have an event like this, or, you know, whatever it may be, if that is a very basic tactic that at least, you know, we put that in the.
Okay.
Do we have any arts events coming up that we can send postcards targeted to some of our partners in the community, like Stone Oaks, places that have older population that can double as a present this card for a free ticket too? And then they come in and they show or something.
I'll look, I know they're usually in the spring, but we can, art events, okay?
Yeah, they have to, it takes a long time to make all that art.
No, I know, and it's not cheap, but it
I like that.
Okay, I'll write up all these suggestions. Let's just say clear some, let's do the slideshow, and then we'll do housekeeping, I'll polish up a couple of minutes and go home. Unless somebody has a burning issue, but could you show us this? Run through the slideshow. We'll just slop it all together, meaning the events and the facilities improvements. Just run through and we'll narrate this. Okay, this is the homecoming game, which our cheerleaders.
Wasn't that in my?
And there's our homecoming court.
I just want to say many years ago, we did a bustling cheerleading squad. And so it's good to see after COVID, when kids were home, kids went through many mental health challenges, joined the team and came out and wanted to cheerleading. And so I think we had almost 40 cheerleaders come out.
Yeah,
It's a good session for the mention too, that we had our homecoming game at Mount Vernon Memorial.
Where in 1986, our football team won some kind of
Back when they had bowl games.
Right, and so a lot of those guys came back and had some tickets and words and went out on the field at halftime. Go ahead.
Did they beat Mount Vernon?
No,
we played Sleepy Hollow.
It was like Sleepy Hollow, and they were first and late.
I was gonna say loud.
I think we got a long shot.
Look at the game. It was
You know,
I
I played football in the late 1960s, early 70s. Sleepy Hollow had one of the best football teams in the county.
They still
do.
They still do.
Still did good.
Well, they also have the.
Keep advancing.
Yeah, they had a nice program back in the 60s.
Okay, there's our.
David,
Yeah,
can I jump in real quick? Because I know this is something that was touched on with the council too.
Yeah.
But one thing we noticed is like a lot of alumni were coming out to the actual homecoming, which is great. But is it possible we can create like a subcommittee of some sort? I know Martina emailed you about it as well, but could maybe assist with trying to, I don't know, pull everything together with homecoming, maybe having some more events for the alumni, things like that. Is that something we could work on with you?
I am unclear as to who exactly has signed up to organize, because I obviously I am not an alumni. My daughter will be or is, but
This reunion specifically,
yeah.
Lisa Nero, who works for Town Hall, was also a 1986 graduate. There
Okay.
was a big reunion happening, like there's the party.
Mhm.
So her and Deb Brooks, who was an alumni, got together and did a lot of the planning for this particular year. Dr. Oh my God, I'm blanking on her his name. Chisholm, thank you. I'm just really tired. Dr. Chisholm has also created a QR code for alumni to sign on, to sign into like an alumni database. So that came out in her, is it coming out in her emails too?
Yeah, she
her
put it in
weekly-
the newsletter, it's a, you know,
Is it, yeah, in her newsletter, it should
she's
probably go out
gonna
all,
put out a newsletter soon.
it should probably go out to the
She'll
to
probably
the
have
weeklies, the principal weeklies.
Principal week.
They should go in there as
Go
well.
ahead.
I know there were a lot of alumni there that aren't even part of the class of 86. That would have been a great opportunity to get some people signed up.
High View, that's the kickball game where the parents versus the kids,
That was great.
Parents versus teachers.
teachers, sorry. And literacy night. And we're back at,
That's the pep rally.
that's the pep rally, the homecoming court. And yes, the Falconets, right? And this is more of the pep rally. The band played on and the different classes sit in the various sections. And the games,
Let's put the game together.
tug of war. This is a football, yeah. And there is the ribbon cutting ceremony.
Look for tennis court?
Yeah. For the tennis courts. Right, there's the superintendent cutting the ribbon, the athletic director smiling. Rebecca, are you holding the ribbon? Okay.
No, I'm just.
And Chris, Alan and Aaron. Okay, go ahead. And there's the superintendent making a speech. The tennis courts, people using the tennis court.
Beautiful.
And a member of the tennis team. The whole gang is Gabriella Barhonen. Yeah, okay, that's the tennis courts. Go ahead. Trunk or treat. So Liam Jackson, people decorate their, yeah, we had a big contest. People decorated their trunks and then they give away candy from the trunk of their car. And so there are a variety.
Is that happening this year?
It was
Oh,
beautiful.
it happened. Well, obviously, you're looking at pictures of it.
See, this.
Who judges?
For example, would be one event my neighbors would love to participate in.
Here's the
In the
funny
trunk
thing.
or treat?
It's like,
Yeah.
Community members
So
participate.
this is run by PTA and they work miracles. There were hundreds of people there. And it's run by PTA. The capacity it's a team of like 5 volunteers that put together and then end up with like 50 volunteers, but it is not a school district thing with the school district resources behind. They do an incredible job, but as far as outreach to do something like invite everybody in the community, that is something PTA would definitely and concertedly take initiative on and somewhere where this this committee can help.
I say this because my neighbor specifically complained that we don't get any trick or treaters.
There you go.
Well, there were many trick or treaters. So these are the, right? Because Chris and Tracy and I were judging the layout of the, under the sea,
Oh, how cute.
right?
Do you have a picture of the camper, the winning?
It should be in here. There's the food,
Oh,
the
that was
aliens.
good, yeah, that had a lot of.
Yeah, it got to be night, right? So we have enough lights out now. And then this is, okay.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's their water main, they're moving towards the entrance. There they are, they're moving towards Stone Oaks Condominium Association, they just said at the bend in the road.
What's gonna happen when they get to Stone Oak? They're gonna get.
They connect the line and then they go and they do the other end.
Yeah, but are they gonna cross like the path they come up?
What do you mean? What street?
Well, I mean, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, no, they'll have a metal plank there for certain times for them. Get in, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, they played it out
Anything on my street right
every
there,
day.
they'll put a plank up so that the traffic can still come and go, and they'll work under. One end is just put a pipe
Oh,
down,
gotcha.
they'll dig first, okay, of course convenience, but once they dig, they'll put like some
They'll put
metal
a
plank right there. Yes,
Yeah.
let's walk through the woods and deal with the wild serpents.
So I'm like,
No, they'll put a plank up like they did right, the metal one, so people
I
can
mean,
drive and
the
stuff.
property
like that.
line,
They won't.
they're almost, they'll stop short of Stone Oaks, just short of Stone Oaks and fix it.
it's enough to do 2 sides. I'll do one side first probably and then
Do the other, right, okay. Keep going.
The
There,
traffic light, please do not go around people at the traffic light. A lot of us we've been stopped at the traffic light and people are rushing and they're going around.
yeah,
For security, out.
right. Alright, next. Alright, you'll see the blue line goes all, we're getting out there towards the edge of how far we'll go. Yeah. Yeah, there, we're close to being done with this, and then we'll come back. Pull back out and do the end of on the right hand side, the end of Wise Way to the gate, right? And that
Is the blue line the part that you already did? Is that what you're showing us?
is the part we did, and the yellow line is the whole route that we were gonna go through, and we decided not to do the part in white out there, and we're gonna maybe put a little branch off of one side to go up to have a hydrant next to the mansion. And we'll see how much money we've got left when we near the end of the project for how long that extension will be. Go ahead.
What do you use for water now?
We have
It's
pipes, but they're not, there's not a pressure.
it's not that, yeah, it's not.
It's very old and corroded and the fire department tested and said, nope, okay.
Is that the last one? I think that's the last one.
The last one?
Yeah. I believe that's the last.
You mean
Yeah,
the
that's
town
the
didn't
last
help
one.
you pay
Yeah,
for
okay,
it?
fair enough.
The town didn't help you pay for it. The water.
It's our property. Okay,
Yeah.
No town property, town's not paying for nothing.
This-
I can tell you that right
We're
now.
using.
It doesn't work that way.
Okay.
Town of Greenburgh, there's a village.
Yeah,
For
the
some
only
reason,
thing they pay for is lawyers.
there's a list of upcoming events, if you wanna look at it. The Halloween parades, right? Jackson's first at 9:30, ECP Main is at 10:30, Highview's at 1 PM and Bailey is at 2 PM. And of course, the Woodland Band goes to every single place and plays. And we got a superintendent's conference day we've got coming up. National Parent Involvement Day is 11/20, so that's an open house for all schools. And we go to our next CEC meeting, and there's a vote, there's election day, obviously, and that happens to be day when the superintendent's conference day, and there's also a board work session at the same time. Yeah.
Sorry to pause you, I found a calendar subscription and the timing of the Halloween parades is different on the calendar subscription, so just call it to that if we can get it looked at.
Okay, because I pulled it off the calendar.
Mine is coming through as 1 PM for Bailey and it's
Maybe I made some changes.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure that everybody sees. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Check. Changes. Okay.
And actually. Yeah, we might need to escalate that to the superintendent. The only reason why I say that, because it's not normally a superintendent level issue, was it last year? Where the timing was messed up for some people? Or was the year before? I don't remember, but there was a year where,
Well, maybe I'm wrong. So
but if you got the wrong
if I get
information.
it wrong, I'll fix it.
Or person Y could also get the wrong.
No, but if it was, yeah, if it's
That's what
different
I'm
in the
saying.
paper calendar versus online,
Yeah.
because it has happened in the past.
Okay,
The digital calendar is usually updated
Right.
when I get.
right, digital calendar rules.
But then the web calendar is handled by the individual secretaries.
Okay. Then planning meetings for next year, so we have a number of events. And we have, Police Mayor has provided a list of potential meeting topics. Can you click that link, would you? Number 9, the next page, let's go. Yeah.
Oh, see if this opens.
Control click.
Yeah. Yeah.
Need access.
Oh,
Yes, you have access.
did you request access?
I'll request access.
Go ahead, break us that. This is for you.
It's gonna come from presentation admin or presentation account.
You got that.
Okay.
All right, take us through it, Chrissy.
Really? Okay, great. Thanks, trustee Warner. So I just was suggesting, I was looking at some of the things going on, and what might be good for the CEC committee with plans for every month. You know, Highview was supposed to be 10/16, I guess it's not, 10/23, and updates on facilities projects, instead we did the special education. But just some ideas that people might have. For November, I was saying, should we do a community engagement and district-wide curriculum updates? Maybe have a calendar available for Clarendon University, and who could be invited if we were to consider that. December community engagement, any political updates, any town, county, state level updates? How do we continue to advocate for funding? Donated monies, grants, et cetera, improvement in the aid formulas. We never really circle back to that, we kind of mention it, but we don't really.
Got tired of beating our heads against the wall for so many years.
Yeah, right. Community engagement, parent feedback, I was suggesting that we have one of our meetings, invite all the PTA leaders.
We
And
did
really get a feedback from them, and I did it kind of in the middle of the year, here it's January, but getting feedback on how the year is going. What type of things are working well, what type of things can be tweaked a little bit. In February, I was suggesting some sort of mid-year review, some sort of superintendent. You know, we used to call it coffee, tea, dessert, I don't know what Dr. Chisholm wants to call, any type of event she has.
We did last spring, yeah, we did one of those.
You did get one last spring. Thank
Yes,
you.
after several years of trying,
Yes, you did. And then we gotta go into budget, we really have to do budget development as well as outreach to the community so that they can understand where their tax dollars are going. Mr. Hover talked about his neighbors and people are concerned and they do need to know about budget, but I was hoping that we can really look at engagement this year. Trustee Warner, and you know, I posed this in one of the BT meetings, I think it was Woodlands, like what is engagement? Right, is engagement watching a meeting or a video? Is engagement hearing from people and getting like emails? Is engagement having people come out in person? And
all of the above.
all of the above, and is engagement, you know, years ago, we used to have the cottage meeting and people would live in their homes. And have the community, believe it or not, you would have CEC members come into your home and have a conversation and have your meeting in people's homes, not necessarily the schools. So what is this idea of engagement post-COVID, right? When everyone was online and everything was like a show, how do we actually have that two-way conversation? So it's just a question, I tend to pose it, and I also, you know, this community engagement. So
Okay. Well, you know, we did it at my house,
Yes,
a couple of times,
2015.
but, I think that it's off limits since the, board members got sued. Okay? And, that just, my wife just shut that door.
She has that right, yes.
So we're bringing it up and waiting for some brave soul to offer their home, and if so, I'm willing to go to someone's house.
Well,
Any volunteer?
you know, we use the fire department.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I think what you said is all of the above, because it was nice that it's virtual too, so people
Yes,
can
it is.
get a chance, so I mean, that's engagement, because you're giving people opportunities. If you put it that way where, you know, that it's virtual and you come live or in person, whatever, I think that's one way of engaging. But people really don't have, you know, previously, well, I didn't come to the school, but everybody used to Zoom now, so Zoom is like a second thing now. A lot of people, it's easy for them. So that's why they've opened up engagement and stuff, and you know, people are just writing questions and stuff and ask. Next meeting, you can answer those questions or bring them forward. It's always nice, you know, to have it ongoing, not just wait once a month to have it. So, I mean, that's another way you can add to the website or whatever. You know, the community engagement thing, whatever you have a question, well, we meet next time, we'll discuss it. That's
Well, just making sure that they get reported so that people can view it at a later time, because there's times that people can't attend these meetings because they can't make it.
Right.
So now, offering them the virtual option gives them that option, yes, but about it was, I want to see it at a later time. We can also take an opportunity on our side to then possibly push it out. I said, in case you missed it, check this out. In case you missed it, check this out. That way, these things almost become semi-evergreen, at least throughout the school season, so that they're top of mind, or they're given the opportunity to be taken, especially for the ones that are presented earlier in the year, to be brought up to the top again, like I say, bring it up back to the top of your email box so that it still remains relevant or has that opportunity to be ingested by the people that are.
Dave,
you want to target.
you post the minutes or stuff on the on our channel? I think we got what channel, channel 34, 37, whatever it is.
The events,
I mean, like we discussed this, if you have that,
Right.
is that posted on, like, for example, when they scroll down for activities and stuff, community engagement, let's give them some ideas, you can just put that on the, as you sit back and say on, I know we have channel 34 or 37, whatever it's on.
There's Verizon and there's
Yeah, so whatever, that's one way of, as he's saying, that just, hey, we did it, we talked about, if you have any added comments.
and you have to make it simplified so it's legible. Okay.
Yeah. Very simple.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a good zone. No, so that would be the media department to handle the distribution of that content. We can take what we created, so either decide it's in 1914, 1080, send it his way, and he can post it into a carousel.
Speaking of minutes,
Sorry.
could we take care of a little business here?
Yes.
Those of you who have packets, take a look. We have the September 22nd minutes. And we have the last set of minutes in May of last year. So take a look at that, and could you bring up the minutes from May 1st? So this was the district art show, and it happened right afterwards. Okay, and take a look there and see if anything needs to be modified. Look at people's who was supposed to be attending, were the names wrong?
Saffron was there May 1st. They
Yeah.
weren't back from school yet.
Steph wasn't there, but Victoria was.
Victoria was.
So Saffron, okay, full Saffron, okay. Okay, anything else? We talked about art, education, reviewed the information on the proposed budget at that time. There's your budget discussion. And school board Q&A, discussed the Eddie Jackson Extra Mile Award, which goes on your list, by the way. And then Rebecca Samplera described the Special Olympics and the Pioneer Senior Night and adopted other minutes, and we asked for concerns, we didn't get any. See anything else that needs to be changed? Do I hear a motion to adopt the minutes as amended?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, we got minutes. Good. Second set of minutes. End of the packet. This is last month, May 22nd. Take a look at the attendance list. Anything off there? Can you bring up yeah, okay. Let me get us, any notes are. See anything? Okay. There is the old set of charges. There's the Alumni Association discussion. There are the PTA reports. We had a members, a leader from each PTA unit, and Gabrielle did the PTA council. Then we have student SOAR, Falcon SOAR, Dr. Chisholm did a little bit in each area. And then review pictures. Anybody see anything that can be changed? Do I hear a motion to adopt the minutes as presented?
Yes.
Also.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Oh.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Hi.
Thank you.